everybody. Graham Polikoff here. It is early, 4:30-ish, and this morning we are going to be talking golf exercises, as well as some running exercises. And really, this video is going out to the crazy bugger who felt the need to rant and rave. Actually, it was no raving, it was just more of a rant about my last video, that I said it was a great exercise for golf and it was a great exercise for running as well. And again, this crazy bugger came at me about the sports specificity of what I was talking about. And how do you have a golf exercise that's good for a running exercise, and you're being so bland about things, and it's you can't treat both athletes the same. And I was like, what in God's name are you talking about? I can't treat both athletes the same, or I can't give them the same exercises. And specifically, it's not for running or for golf. We're talking about corrective strategies for injury prevention and for screens and assessments that you failed, right? So every video that we've gone through, we've talked about some type of assessment, some type of screen to identify, do you do it well? Or do you pass it on one side and you don't pass it on the other? And when we see this discrepancy between the two, when there's when you don't pass it on one side and you do on the other, or you don't pass it on either side, those are aspects of your body that we need to fix. So when you go participate in that activity, whatever it is, going for a walk, training for your 5K, your half marathon, your full marathon for the Detroit Marathon, or going to play in your pickup game up at the club, you're playing in a tournament, you're playing in a big qualifier for the U.S. Amateur in a few weeks, or whatever you are doing, we are talking about the human body more than I'm talking about golf and running. And again, this crazy bugger came at me, and he wasn't very nice. I will admit that. He was not very nice. But I was nice to him. I tried to give him very specifics, the same specifics we're going to talk about right now and that I'm going to talk about here in a second. But we're talking about human movement. We're not talking about necessarily the sports specificity of the exercise. But I'm going to show you why and how this great exercise for running can also be a great exercise for golf. Up to this point, we've talked a lot about rotation, right? I look at life as a rotary sport. I look at running in a straight line as a rotary sport. Golf is most definitely a rotary sport. If we don't address our issues in this rotary fashion, we miss out on so much of the injury prevention. We most definitely miss out on identifying the root cause of our injuries, and we sure as God miss out on the performance aspects of our training. I'm going to talk to you in a second here about, again, why this rotation is so critical in running, why this rotation is obviously critical in golf, but how the same exercise can be extremely beneficial for both. Alrighty, so the last time I spoke, we talked about this rotational screen, and we went from a half kneeling rotation to this long stride rotation with these presses, two hands, one-handed press, as well as this twisted row. And I said it was great for golf and great for running, and it is, if you can't pass this test and you fall over. But I also mentioned that there's other aspects of these screens, right? When you want the full Monty, come on in. We'll do a screen for you. We'll identify that you can't balance on one side. You can't rotate to the opposite side. When you go to lift your arm, you get a pinch here and you're missing range of motion on your right side, and your left side is beautiful, right? We're going to bring you through 5, 6, 10 screens, whatever it is. We're going to rule out that your ankles aren't an issue, because I'm sure the last time you went in for a shoulder issue, Mr. Crazy Bugger, nobody looked at your ankle. And I promise, if you are a golfer and you've got a left lead ankle issue and you can't post up on your hip, you might throw the club, you might early extend, you might slide through it, and now you wind up with an elbow problem. You wind up with a shoulder problem. You wind up with a neck problem. You wind up with a low back problem because you hang back. And same thing goes for the runners. If you've got a bad wheel and you're trying to get onto that left side and your brain intuitively knows, I don't have the range of motion to get there at my ankle. I'm sure as heck not going to be able to use my hip very well. My glutes aren't working. I'm not getting glute activation or core activation, whatever you want to mumbo jumbo you want to throw in there. So Mr. Crazy Bugger, if you can't get to that lead side, if you can't get to that left side, your brain is quickly going to get you onto your right side as fast as it can, because this side is not optimal. And again, if you're running from a lion, you don't want to use something today that you're not very good at, or that's not very efficient, that's not very effective. So you're going to overuse another side, the other side. So let's go back to the exercises specifically. When I had you in this long stride position, turning deep across that right side and going through these presses, basically I'm loading my right hip, which would be transferring to that right leg so I can explode and catch myself on the other side. Whew, quick, right? So if I can't get there and load to explode onto the next leg, I'm going to have issues in my performance, most definitely. And if I can't load on my right side, I might slide a little bit. So now I'm dealing with a trochanteric bursitis. I'm creating this big bowing on the outside, so I might deal with some IT band issues. I might deal with an Achilles issues, plantar fasciitis, bunions. Got them. So I might be dealing with all types of issues if I can't load into this right side without being strong and stable, and with the rotation that's so critical as well. Even if it's not this extreme in running, it's still very crucial to be able to rotate right and load on my right side in some capacity so I can get to the left. And for golf, if I can't sit into that hip and load hard and have my shoulder in a good position to deliver the club, again, I don't know what I'm going to do. I might stand up, I might early extend, I might slide, I might sway on the backswing. I might be beautiful when I get there, and then because I didn't really load here, I faked it, I might just use all arms, a la Mrs. Haverkamp. So, the same exercise, I don't care if it's half kneeling and doing some presses, I don't care if it's long stride and doing some presses, can be amazingly effective for both of these sports. Mr. Crazy Bugger, you know who you are. So join us next time. I don't know when, maybe next week, maybe tomorrow, maybe next month. We're going to talk about and debunk some of the nonsense of sports specificity, and we're going to show you why an exercise great for baseball can be also tennis, golf, lacrosse, you name it, as well as running. You Mr. Crazy Bugger.